Today in Capechi's Corner, we're going to look at special products of polynomials. The first pattern we're going to look at is a sum and difference pattern. And what that says is if I have two binomials that are exactly the same except for the sign is different, I can follow the pattern a squared minus b squared as a shortcut. So for example, if I have x plus 3 times x minus 3, my a value is x and my b value is 3. So I can take my a squared, which is x squared, minus my b squared, which is 3, and square that, which gives me 9. I tell my students that they're welcome to use this pattern, but if it gets confusing, depending on the binomials or if you get what the rule is, it's just as easy to use FOIL. So x times x gives me x squared for my first term. My outside term gives me negative 3x. My inside term gives me positive 3x. And my last is negative 9. So what happens here, when I have a binomial times another binomial, which is exactly the same except for the signs, my outside and inside term will always zero out. So again, my final answer is x squared minus 9. It doesn't matter which way you get there as long as you're following the rules. My next pattern is called the square of a binomial pattern. So if I have the exact same binomial, a plus b, and I square it, and the same thing for a minus b, I can follow this pattern. For a plus b squared, it's a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. Let's look at our example. So if I have the quantity h plus 3 and that's squared, my a value is h, my b value is 3. If I follow the pattern, a squared, which is h, that gives me h squared, plus 2 times a times b. So h times 3 is 3h. Multiply that by 2 and I get 6h. And my last term, my b value, I square. 3 squared gives me 9. So that's my final answer there, h squared plus 6h plus 9. Now again, sometimes this gets overwhelming or students get confused. It's taking longer to remember what the pattern is versus just using FOIL. I always suggest that my students just use FOIL. So again, h times h gives me h squared for my first term. My outside term is 3h, my inside term is 3h, and my last term is 9. Now again, you'll notice if the binomial is the same, this outside and inside term is going to be exactly the same, which is why there's a 2 there in that pattern. So then I have h squared plus 6h plus 9. Again, doesn't matter how you get there. Now we're ready to practice some. Find the product. So again, I could use a special pattern if I'd like to. I just like to use FOIL. So 5a times 5a gives me 25a squared. That's my first term. My outside term is 10a. My inside term is negative 10a. And my last term is negative 4. My outside and inside terms will zero out. So I have 25a squared minus 4. Now again, my outside and inside terms zero out because they have the exact same binomial with different signs. Let's look at number 2. Again, same ideas. Let's do FOIL. 3b times 3b gives me 9b squared. My outside term, 3b times 4, gives me positive 12b. My inside term gives me negative 12b. And my last term gives me negative 16. My outside and inside terms zero out, so I'm left with 9b squared minus 16. In number 3, we have the quantity of 8p plus 3 squared. So again, we could use a special pattern if we want. I just like to rewrite it and use FOIL. I just think overall it's quicker and I'm a little bit more accurate that way. So again, using FOIL, 8p times 8p gives me 64p squared. My outside terms, 8p times 3 gives me 24p. My inside term also gives me 24p since they are the exact same binomial. And 3 times 3 for my last gives me 9. When I combine my terms, I get 64p squared plus 48p plus 9. For number 4, we have the quantity of 7w minus 1 squared. So let's rewrite that, 7w minus 1. And again, because there's 2, I'm going to write them twice. And then I'm going to use FOIL. 7w times 7w gives me 49w squared. My outside term is negative 7w. My inside term is negative 7w. And my last term is 1. I combine my terms and I have 49w squared minus 14w plus 1. Let's take a look at a word problem. It says Kelsey creates a painting on a square canvas with size the length of x plus 5. Part A says write a polynomial expression that represents the area of the canvas. Now remember, the formula for area is equal to length times width. So we're going to multiply x plus 5 times x plus 5. And using FOIL, we have x squared. Outside is 5x, inside is 5x, and my last is 25. So we combine our terms, we have x squared plus 10x plus 25, and that would be units squared. Area is units squared. Now looking at part B, it says Kelsey adds a 2-inch wide frame around all sides of the canvas. Write a polynomial expression that represents the total area of the canvas and the frame. So we know the canvas, the original length and width is x plus 5. So that's this distance right here. If we add 2-inch frame around the whole thing, I'm going to add 2 inches on this side and 2 inches on that side. So I'm going to add 2 plus x plus 5 plus 2. So that whole side becomes x plus 9. The same thing is going to happen on the other side. My original canvas is x plus 5 plus the frame will make that new width x plus 9. To find the area, I'll take x plus 9 times x plus 9, and I'll use FOIL. X squared plus 9x plus 9x plus 81. When I combine my terms, I get x squared plus 18x plus 81 units squared.